back. Victor Antonio is back to talk more sales. We're going to talk about, should we talk about objections? I don't think we should talk about objections.
I don't want to talk about objections.
I don't either. I think objections are something that we don't want to talk about.
I don't want to talk about overcoming objections either. I don't want to talk about that either.
Feel, felt, found, all that crazy BS
don't want to
that goes
talk
out
about
there.
that.
We're not going to talk about that.
No.
Why don't we talk about your book? I think your best book, my favorite book of yours,
It is
that you introduced us to like 9 years ago, 10 years ago.
That sounds about right, actually. So the book is called Response Block Selling, which is about blocking objections. Now, the psychology behind this is that we're used to overcoming objections. And I show in the book, scientific studies show that if somebody states an objection, Ed, they're less likely to change their mind. So as soon as they go, it's too expensive, that's it. They've taken a position, they've dug in their heels, poof, the walls go up. Shields up, Scotty, there it is, right? So overcoming those objections becomes very difficult, and that's what people have been taught. So I've learned to block the objections is a much more powerful strategy. Here's how it works. You know, in any situation, you're going to have 3, maybe 5, really stretch into 7 objections that the customer is going to have. 3, 5, 7, typically 3 and 5. So let's say right now I'm asking you to do this mentally. If not, write it down. List down the 3 to 5 objections your customers typically give you, right? Write them down. Now, you don't want to wait for the customer to raise the objection because, again, that means they've taken a position. It's hard to change their mind once they've taken that position. Once they state it, they've taken a position. It's hard to change their mind. What you want to do is block it while it's still in their head. Here's how it works. 4-step process, right? Step number 1, rather. Raise the objection yourself. So let's say, for example, it's going to be price. What do you think of that one, Ed?
And it's going to happen here, right? Orkin's going to charge more money.
We're going to charge more money.
We know that.
Simply, yeah. So what you're going to do is, here's what you're going to do. What you're going to do is you're going to say, you're not going to wait for the customer goes, whoa, that's more than I expected to pay, because that's the price objection. What you're going to say is this. You raise the objection by saying, many of our clients initially feel that our prices are more expensive than our competitors. I just raised the objection. Step number 1. Step number 2, I have to offer to resolve it. Here's how you offer to resolve it. So again, raise the objection. Many of our clients tell us that we're more expensive than our competitors. Then you're going to offer to resolve by saying, but that really depends on what you're buying and what you're going to use or what the application is going to be. Do you mind if I show you something? The third step then is you got to show them something. There's the demo piece. Now the demo piece is all about convincing them that your prices really aren't that much higher, and even if they are higher, the value that you bring overpowers or overcomes that actual pricing. And once you demonstrate that, you'll have to determine how to do that. Then the last part, step number 4, is you tie down, not the sale, you tie down the objection. You'll say something like this: Mr. Customer, based on what I've shown you, can you now see how paying a little more today in the long run is actually going to save you money? And if the customer goes, yes, I can see that, you've just tied down the actual pricing objection.
Butter smooth, right?
Just like that.
When you think about how that all works and the dynamic of that, right? You know, if you don't serve it up as an Orkin Pro, if you don't serve up at some point in the conversation, you know, I'm not saying you hit the door and say, hey, Mr. Customer, we're going to be more money than everybody else, and let me show you this. We don't lead with that, right? We're not going to do that. But I think there is a point in time, and typically on a residential solution, I've always used that time right before we've done all our inspection. We've already demonstrated real difference. You know, you didn't kick the dog. You played with the kids. You did everything you're supposed to do, and to bring it perfect, done a great inspection. You prepared a great presentation on your iPad, and you're about to get after it, right? I think kind of setting the stage before you sit down, it might be something as simple as this. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, you know, before I get started, typically, I just wanted to share with you that typically we charge more than other folks do, and I think, you know, by the end of this presentation, hopefully I'll prove that to you, and hopefully you'll understand and see the value that where we're worth that little bit more money. Now, that's not perfect smooth, but kind of using that format after you've already kind of spent some time. You spent a half hour, maybe an hour kicking around that house. They're like, oh, this cat's different. He's really different. Right. You tee it up that, you know, typically we charge a little bit more for that, and hopefully at the end of my solutions you'll understand that. And then when you finish up, hopefully you've seen that, and then you button them up and you close it. I think that's a pretty good play for that. But that blocking objections, I can honestly say, and this is kind of blow Victor's horn a little bit. Nobody in the past from the boardroom tables in Tampa with Bloomin' Brands to all the other folks I presented, even not with individual sales inspectors, nobody since I met them has ever said to me, you're higher than the other company. They can't say it because why? we've already taken ownership of it. We've already told them.
There it is.
If that customer comes back and says, you're more money than the other guys, well, you knucklehead, I told you that, right?
Yeah.
Kind of off my humor. But seriously, if you start to play it that way, it won't come up because you set the expectation that you're going to be worth more. But you can't do that without demonstrating all the stuff and really proving you're different.
Correct.
So yeah,
But you bring up a really interesting point, is that when you look at, because this is kind of the second part of the blocking objection, second layer, so to speak. So the structure is understanding how to block them, right? Raise it, offer to resolve, demonstrate something, then tie down the objection. But what you said was interesting, is that you want to bring up, for example, the price objection right after you've done the walkthrough, and as you said, after you didn't kick the dog, but you did pet the children. So anyway, but the thing is, you pick your moment when you want to raise that objection. And this brings up a very interesting point, is that if we look at our walkthrough as, let's say, an hour, right? Then within that hour, I should know where in that process I want to block the objection. That's what's powerful about what you just said.
Amen.
You're saying for the price objection, you block it right here. After this has been done, you built some credibility, you ask some great questions, you're almost ready to do the kitchen table deal. That's when you set it up. So I want you to lay out, look at your objections, right? Your 3 to 5. Write out the script for each of them. In fact, you know what, Ed? We're going to give them the free book, right? So they'll be able to download it.
Let's do that.
Let's do that. Boom. You got the book. So I'm going to send you the book because I got about 22 to 23 scripts of the most typically asked or typically stated objections. And you'll take those scripts and you'll modify them your way. Take your top 3 to 5 and then ask yourself in your full walkthrough, your presentation, then begin to figure out where you're going to actually block those objections. Now, keep in mind that it may not feel natural when you do it the first time, and you may have to move around where you block the objection during the process. But man, once you get it down, it's butter, baby. It's butter, baby.
and that's so true. When we first rolled it out in the advanced classes, right? It was very uncomfortable. It was very clunky. Folks were struggling. Heck, I was struggling with it. Like, I can't do that. I thought I was pretty good at overcoming objections, right? And I'd been taught that and was teaching that. And I'm like, man, this is clunky. But I'm telling you, I adopted it. Practice, practice, practice. You know my motto. But to get it nutted down like that, and to get it dialed in, like I said, just write. You know the ones you're getting. Write down the last 4 or 5 that you got, or the ones that keep popping up, and script them out and get ahead of them. Block the objection. Response block selling. Get it out. Own it. Take ownership of it, because you can't run from it. The Orkin Pro is going to charge more money, so you might as well get it out there and own it and take control of it, so that you're saying it before they say it, because you don't want that wall going up when they, oh boy, you guys are twice as much money as Terminix.
And again, you're bringing up a good point, is that you want to make sure that you understand your script, what you want to say and how you want to say it. Don't guess or try to work it out in the presentation. You're right. At the beginning, learning your scripts to blocking objections is a little clunky, but then when you become very smooth at it, it flows in your conversation. And again, this gives you more confidence to go in there, knowing that every time, and I should highlight this, that every time you block an objection, Ed, you can feel the resistance drop a little bit. You feel another one drop with every one. You feel another one drop. You feel another one drop. You'll get to the point where they buy in. So use blocking objections to reduce buyer resistance.
Amen. So scratch everything you know about overcoming objections and get after blocking objections.
There you go.
Let's get out of here. Continue to separate yourself from the competition by being different and good selling.